Hey besties, Monica Ferguson here and welcome to World Domination. This is a safe space for absolute legends who are bold enough and brave enough to go within, to recreate their belief system, to aim high, to chase their wildest dreams and become everything that they are destined to be. This is a space for people who are serious about growth, about healing. We talk about all things mind, body, spirit, and we have the courage to go further than most people even dare to dream. Welcome, let's get into it. Hey besties, Monica Ferguson here and welcome to this week's episode, which I am starting to record at 11:11, so I reckon we're doing well. We're doing very, very well already. Alignment, and I am actually really looking forward to speaking about this because I just don't see enough people talking about this part of the journey, this part of the process, this part of the healing and the personal development journey, the self-worth journey, where we have grown so much, we have healed so much, we have literally outgrown everyone in our lives, and we start to see things clearly. Now, what then happens is rage. Because here's the thing. The version of us that started the journey, the people-pleasing, insecure, unworthy feeling, version of us who didn't believe that we were good enough, who didn't feel lovable, who felt like we had to earn and prove and strive all the time, that version of us is very, very, very different to the version who is actually embodying, the business owner version or whatever it is that you're doing, that you're working on in your life, right? But when you actually have done real work and big growth, the version of you now is very different to the version of you who started. And I've spoken about this before, but this has been, I honestly feel like, for me, the hardest part of this entire journey has been dealing with other people, because I very naively just assumed that people would be happy for me. People would be happy for my growth. They would be happy for me achieving my goals. They would be happy for me to believe that I was worthy and hold new standards for myself and for how other people treated me. Psych, that is not true. Most people in my life that were there at the start of the journey, and I'm going to say I got serious about this work 10 years ago. Very few. I think honestly one person who was at the start of my journey is still in my life. One. And I used to be, honestly, this is going to be a really vulnerable episode, you guys, because honestly, I feel like it needs to be. And this has been brewing in me for a little while, and today I've just been like, I need to speak about this because there's a lot going on behind the scenes, right? And it's so easy to show up in a certain way and just be like, positive and motivating and not real. And I'm always looking for how I can be more authentic, more myself, how I can, be more helpful to people. And like I said, I just don't think people talk enough about the behind the scenes stuff. So often what we see is the highlights reel, the surface level, the wins, the results, the money, the impact, the business, the love, whatever, but we don't see everything that happened behind the scenes. And for me, I have been working like recently, even up until this morning, through a very intense chapter of my own growth where I have been getting angry, like rage, like dark feminine activate. And the reason that is because I continue to do this work in my own life, right? I continue to strip back the layers, the parts of me that didn't feel worthy, didn't feel good enough, didn't believe in herself, was afraid to be seen, was afraid to let people close to me. Like, the work never stops. I'm continuing. And I hit a new point where recently in my life, I met someone who I got very excited about. And I was literally like, oh my God, this is my person. And that person turned out to be a real toxic asshole. And I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. This person talked a big game, but when it got real, that's when we really see who people are, right? In the moments where they have to actually be vulnerable, lean in, face their fears, express their emotions, that's when we see the truth of who people really are. And in dealing with this person where I was so intentional about like being authentic, being vulnerable, not playing games, like creating safety for him and myself, I really pulled down layers, and he encouraged me to do that, to be vulnerable, to open up. He was scared, I was scared. I thought we were in it together. He was talking big, he was talking future, he was talking like we were a team, right? So naively, I believed him. And the minute it got real, the minute I asked for clarity, I got attacked, y'all, like besties. I got like fucking like emotionally stabbed. And this was a situation that fucked me up. Like, I am not going to sugarcoat this, because I had been so, honestly, I'd been so brave. Like, I had faced all, it makes me want to cry even just talking about it. This is how real this is, right? Like, I had really exposed myself, like my heart, my soul, really made myself like open and therefore vulnerable. And to be met with such cruelty, coldness, and it was because he couldn't handle his own shit, right? It got real for him. After he left, like, he called me and he said, oh, you know, I feel really scared. And so I just thought that I'd tell you. And so we talked about it, and I was like, this is so awesome. Like, I actually have a partner that I can be real with, right? I can actually, we can grow together. We can support each other. Like, I do not expect perfection. Of course, fear exists. We're all human, but when we can work through it together, like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I've been, working towards. And then it was literally the next day that it was just like the projection, man. And this person just shut down their emotions, couldn't handle their fear, couldn't handle their insecurities, just attacked, twisted everything into something completely different. Like, it was just like black and white. Now, this, my friends, is what we call fearful avoidant attachment. So if you don't know what your attachment style is, this is honestly something that's very useful to understand, because we can learn a lot about especially how our childhood influenced us in terms of the beliefs that we have about connection, relationships. Because when we get into pressure situations, and relationships are pressure situations, we're vulnerable, we're emotional, we're open, we're exposed. Whatever is under the surface is going to be squeezed up. And if we have not learned how to create safety within ourselves, if we have not learned that it's safe to let people love us, to let people close to us, when someone good comes and they love us and they're present and they're caring and they're conscious, we're not going to know how to receive that. And so we're going to go into fight or flight. We're going to sabotage in order to return back to what we know is safety, right? Now, this all comes together. And all of the things that I talk about when I talk about, belief systems and the subconscious mind and what stories do we have beneath the surface, it's all formed from childhood, right? And so until we actually consciously choose to start analyzing our behavior and what are the patterns that we keep seeing in our life, nothing's going to change. So many of us as grown adults are still living as the little kid version of us because we never actually address the issues. Now remember, our belief system is formed from the ages of 0 to 7. Hear that again, 0 to 7. That's when we create our model of the world. And so many people never update that. They never look at the beliefs, the wounds, the trauma that happened, or, what they were taught versus what's actually real. And so they just keep repeating cycles, blaming everyone else, thinking everyone else is the problem. And so we have no power, right? This is why we do this work. Now, the reason I'm sharing this story with you is because this was a real catalyst for me to go even deeper into my own growth. Because the way that I handled the situation was I left immediately, right? The first sign of disrespect when when I had been literally like so intentional, so safe, supportive, communicative, open, I tried to repair it. I was attacked again, so I left. Okay? That's what we do. When we're disrespected, we leave. But the process for me of what happened after this literally unlocked a new level for me in my life. And that level was rage. Rage. Because what this experience did, it revealed to me things that were still happening in my own subconscious. And this is why, besties, like, it is so important for us to never stop. Because the work never stops. Like, the need for self-awareness is so, so, so important. Because we're always responding to life, right? And 95% of our mind is subconscious. So we always want to be able to sit back and reflect on, like, what did I do? Like, how did I show up in that situation? What stories did I have? What did I choose? What did I, and to really be able to be honest with ourselves about what was my role in that situation. Not, fuck everyone else, you're this, you're that, they did this, they did that. But actually, sometimes that is important. We're going to get to that. But firstly, and this is the first step, okay? I have 3 main points that I want to hit today. The first step is our own life audit. So what do we actually need to see about ourselves? What do we need to face within ourselves? Are we actually living in integrity? In this situation, did we actually show up in a safe way, in a communicative way, in a supportive way? Or did we go full on avoidant and then attack the other person when they acted a certain way? Did we hard out, hold back, hide ourselves, hide our hearts, and then be angry when that person did the same thing? Because people are a mirror for us, right? So it's like, what's going on within us that we need to look at? And so what this situation did for me is I really sat with this myself. I started to look at the ways that I was overgiving in my life. Because when you're trained, right, in belief systems, you do this identity work with people, 7 years in mental health, all this work with self-worth and writing books and building stores and business and stuff. It's like you get very good at understanding people, seeing their wounds, seeing their trauma. And what I was doing was too much compassion for others, not enough for myself. Because it's really, really easy to do that. It's really, really easy to see the little wounded kid in everyone, to understand where this came from, where their wounds came from. Okay, yep, that's true. However, what I needed to do in my own life was drastically increase the boundaries and the standards that I had for myself. Like, now, in saying that, I do not let anyone in my life treat me like garbage. Like, I leave, right? The first sign of disrespect or crumbs, like, if there's no attempt to repair, like if I try to repair it, I try to talk about it and they just ghost, abandon, project, I'm out of there, like whatever. But I was just noticing where internally I was actually taking way too much responsibility for other people's stuff. I was blaming myself for their behavior, to sum it up. And so I did this life audit and I started looking at the stories that I was telling myself about people in my life. And I realized that this had become a strategy from childhood. Having a, narcissistic parent, a very avoidant parent, so one that's like present and very toxic and harmful, one that's absent emotionally, which also is harmful, right? So you're constantly feeling abandoned or attacked. That's all there is. So what I did was I learned to see the best in people as a survival strategy. And that strategy was still running. And I didn't realize it until now, right? Until this experience. And as I started reviewing the dynamics of my life, the people who had stabbed me in the back, the friends who had ghosted, abandoned, the people who would just try to take from me and then ignore every boundary, every standard, ignore my well-being, just take. Even if I lovingly expressed and held standards and boundaries, they would just override them until I had to actually physically remove myself. Like, I started to get angry. I started to get really, really angry as I started to review the gap between the way that I had shown up, the love, the care, the support, the presence I offered versus the absolute bullshit that I had been met with. The crumbs, the avoidance, the ghosting, the taking from me and giving nothing back. And it had happened so many times on my journey because, like I said, 10 years ago, the version of me from 10 years ago is so different to this version of me, right? And so the rage that has come up in me, besties, I don't even have words to tell you how much rage has come up. And actually, I'm really happy about it because it means that I'm no longer blaming myself for other people's shitty fucking behavior, right? And this was the key. This is the key. Okay, so this takes me to step 2, which is processing the anger. So, just to recap, step 1, right? We want to actually do a life audit, full, radical responsibility, right? We want to look at our role. Did we overgive? That was my role, right? I overgave. I was too compassionate, too kind, too nice. That was on me, right? So for us to actually look at our role in the dynamic, this is where we actually get to start to take our power back as well. And it's the awareness piece, right? Nothing changes without awareness. So as we start to actually see things clearly for what they are, without like the emotion as well, without attaching our self-worth to it, that's when we can actually start to have the breakthrough. Now, one thing I actually will add on to this before we move on to point 2 is this. And answer this, just feel in your body the first response that comes up when I ask you this question. When people treat you like garbage, do you blame yourself? Do you internalize their behavior? Does it make you feel like worthless, not good enough, not chosen, unimportant? Or do you immediately look at it and go, oh, that was gross? Because this matters. This matters because a person who truly knows their value and their worth is able to separate other people's behavior from their own value, their own worth. But for most of us, that's not the case, right? For most of us, we haven't done enough internal healing and work yet to be able to do that. So what would happen, and I used to be like this for almost my entire life, right? Someone would treat me badly. I would go, oh my God, see, no one wants me. No one cares. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. No one wants to stay. No one treats me with respect. Now, here's the interesting thing. As I was doing like my life audit, and I always do, I've been observing this for like years. The reaction that I can elicit sometimes from people is that people get really, really triggered by me. My directness, my depth, my the way that I speak, the standards that I hold. And what I noticed was that I'm an avoidance worst nightmare, right? Because they want people that are going to enable them to stay on the surface, and I'm way too direct for that. I don't care. So like for people that are avoiding stuff, I'm their worst nightmare. That's literally what I do, right? This is literally who I am, what I do. For most people, that terrifies them because most people don't want to deal with their shame. They don't want to deal with their fear. They don't want to have to encounter stuff. And, a couple of years ago, I was talking with this guy that I was like almost dating. And he said to me, he said, you know what? I'm conflicted. He said, there's 2 parts. One part of me thinks you'd be really good for me. The other part of me doesn't want to have to do what I would have to do to maintain this. And I want to run away. And then he was like, but here I am. So, maybe I can do this. And then like I got ghosted the next day, right? And I've run into him a few times since that happened. It's the same thing, like just absolute avoidance, doesn't want to deal with it, but wants the surface level version of me, but doesn't want the accountability. Now, I've had this with ex-partners as well, where they said to me like, oh my God, I get the whole like, I don't deserve you, because I trigger up people's wounds, right? So their insecurities, their fears and all that kind of stuff comes up. Friendships, partners, whatever. And this particular partner, he said to me, Mom, like, you're a mirror. You're a mirror, and I don't want to look in the mirror. Like, I just don't want to. And so that was literally what ended our relationship. He was unwilling to face his own insecurities and fears. Yet, that ex has created false, like fake accounts online to stalk me. He refuses to delete the photos out of my phone. I have so many people from the past who have ghosted me in real life. They're watching me from fake accounts online, but they will never talk to me in real life. They literally snobbed me, projected, attacked, never apologized, never took accountability, yet they didn't want to let go. And I was like, isn't this so interesting? But everyone wants the view and no one wants the climb. People want the warmth, the support that I bring, and this is where people get fooled, right? They think this is all I am, that I'm just going to sit around telling you how worthy you are. Well, I will do that, but I'm also going to expect you to communicate. I'm also going to not tolerate you projecting your unhealed issues onto me, because I didn't deserve that. If I showed up in a really loving, present way in our friendship or in our relationship, and you didn't want to deal with your insecurities, so you attacked me, that's not okay. You're a grown ass adult, and I'm done with that, right? And so this is where the rage in me has been coming up as I've been looking at this. But this matters, right? It really matters in our life audit for us to look at, what is my role in this? And so often the role in is that we were overgiving. Why did we do that? Because we have a fear of abandonment. And we were scared that if we didn't give, people were going to leave. We learned that we had to earn our worth. We had to earn people's love. Whatever it is, right? Abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear we're not good enough, feeling unworthy. Like all these sorts of core beliefs will control our whole life. And so can you imagine when you have the courage to sit with that, understand it, feel the feelings that need to be felt, and then start to consciously choose to move in a different way? Can you imagine how much your life will change? So we can let the anger and the rage just be a messenger showing us in our life where we've been way out of balance, where we get to reclaim our self-worth and our power and hold better standards and better boundaries. Okay, that was a segue. So let's go back into number 2. So remember, just recapping. Step 1 is doing a life audit, radical self-responsibility and accountability, looking at our role in this dynamic. What are the things about ourselves that we actually can very lovingly acknowledge, right? We don't do this with shame. We don't do it with judgment, because all of these things were created from a wound or an attempt to keep ourselves safe. So we're not going to attack ourselves for that. We're just going to understand what's been running in the background, and is this actually helping us to get our desired result, or is it time to upgrade our behavior and our belief system, right? So number 2 is processing the anger. And honestly, this podcast is kind of my therapy. I've been, I do yoga, I do meditation, I like to work out. So these are like physical ways of releasing this stuff. But I've been doing a lot of meditation. I did like an angry journaling session more than once. And today what I feel like is I've wanted to speak. This is helping me to process as well. And so, it's like, what do you need to do to actually process the feelings in a real way? Because anger is also a secondary emotion, right? So often what happens is when you actually face the anger, the rage, what's underneath is going to be pain, grief, sadness for how much you tolerated that you didn't deserve, sadness for how much time went by, grief, pain, whatever. And all these things lovingly need to be held and felt. So it's really going to be up to you to trust yourself, right? When you can sit with yourself and say, how can I best show up for myself? How can I best navigate this hurt? What do I most need to give myself? And like I say, for me, I really love yoga. I love meditation. I like nature. I like music. I take a lot of baths, right, with Epsom salts and bubbles and stuff. Cozy little, lounge nights with like candles and incense and Palo Santo, and putting my fire on because it's like getting really cold here in New Zealand. It pours into my soul. And so then I can just sit and I can put meditation music on and I can just allow the tears or the grief or the pain to be felt. And I just hold myself through that as if I was holding the 4-year-old version of me. That amount of presence, that amount of love. How would I show up for her? How tightly would I hug her? You know? And that's the amount of love that we can bring to ourselves. So we're going to feel the feelings and we're going to allow that process to unfold however it needs to. It's not up to us to figure out how long, and we're not, how long it should take, and we're not going to rush the process because things come in waves. You might get really angry and then you might get really sad and then you might feel fine, and then 2 weeks later you might have another trigger come up. And it's just about being present with yourself in all of the forms, So processing the anger, talking it out, journaling it out, boxing it out, whatever it is, talking to a friend, going to a counselor, whatever it is that you actually need, going to a rage room and breaking some stuff, literally whatever it is that you need, do that, okay? And now the third step, and this is really important. What are the steps that we're going to take to avoid this from happening again, right? So at this point, we've realized, let's say in my case, oh my God, I've been way too compassionate for other people, over-giving, seeing their wounds and minimizing my own pain and hurt because of it. So the first thing I did was I honored the fuck out of myself, right? I tripled down on my own self-care and self-love practices. I gave myself a voice. I sang, I wrote, I journaled, I did all these beautiful things for myself, really reclaimed my own energy, right? And because I was looking at things clearly, I was able to start separating what was my behavior from what was theirs, and separating my worth and my value from their behavior. Because let's be honest, when someone attacks and projects you, it can feel personal and it hurts, right? So I allowed the hurt to be felt, but I also looked at what actually happened. What the actual projection, the actual attack, the actual things that didn't make sense, at all. And so I knew that this was a projection. I knew this was not actually about me. I knew that this was, you know what I mean? So we want to get radically honest with ourselves, and then we want to allow those feelings and the anger and the hurt and whatever it is that was under the surface, it needs to be processed. And honestly, this is where someone like me can come in really handy, because we're actually looking at the root. We're going to the subconscious beliefs. We're going to the real deep stuff that's driving everything. And then we're able to extract it and actually change it into something that's way more powerful and beneficial, right? And so, the step 3 is boundaries. What are we no longer going to tolerate? What are we not no longer available for? And what do we need to embody right now? What do we need to do in our life right now? If you already know the things in your life that you're tolerating that you shouldn't be, right? And when I say shouldn't be, I mean the things that aren't actually serving you. You already know the shitty friends in your life that treat you like garbage, and you allow them to. You already know. And this is why I say radical self-responsibility, because it's so easy to be like, oh my God, they always do this. Why are you tolerating it? That person that treats you like an option, yet you continue to text them back. Why? We teach people how to treat us, right? So this is where we have to get radically honest about where did we overstep our own boundaries? Where are we tolerating disrespect, tolerating crumbs, even from ourselves? That thing that we promised ourselves we were going to do and we keep not doing it. Why? How do we implement something? Why are we not doing that? That's the key, right? And that's where, again, the life audit part is so important, the awareness part, because we need to understand what's going on under the surface. But actually setting up steps to avoid these things from happening again is the key. Setting boundaries. Do we need to actually block some people? Do we actually need to physically block on our phone? Do we need to have some really, really scary, hard conversations with people? Or is it actually a matter of like, actually, no, this pattern has played out for many years. Like, there's no more time. Like, there's no more time required. Or is it that you need to say something that you've been afraid to say because you were afraid of what the reaction might be, you know? But if we don't really implement internal systems, these things are going to continue to repeat. If we continue to tolerate disrespect and we choose it, that is actually a choice. And that might sound super brutal, but honestly, no one's coming to save us. We are the ones to protect ourselves, to honor ourselves. And like I said, imagine the 4-year-old version of you. That little version of you, beautiful, pure, magnificent, so worthy, so incredible. What are you doing to protect them? What are you doing to keep them safe? What standards do you have? Like, are you honoring them? Are you protecting them? Are you serving them? Or are you hurting them? You know, that person is you. That person is you. And you deserve to be treated with so much love and respect and kindness and consideration and presence. And so if we can each check in with ourselves, are we being that to ourselves and to others? Or are there some things that we need to correct? Okay? So if you guys want some help, check out my website. I have resources. I have one-on-one coaching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for yourself. And that is a wrap. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for being here. And please let me know your aha moments. I want to hear all about them. For extra support, make sure you're following me on TikTok and Instagram at @TheMonicaFerguson. Check out the School of Greatness for self-study courses. And of course, if you want one-on-one mentoring, just DM me and I would love to have a chat with you. Go and slay the day. Thank you for being you. See you soon.